Welcome to the Biz Easy podcast, where small business is simplified for greater results. Brought to you by Resources and Development. Go to www.resources-development.com for help in taking your business to the next level. And now, help me welcome the host of the Biz Easy podcast, Steve McCrillis.
Welcome to the Biz Easy podcast for 2024, coming to you recorded across the airwaves to all of America. It's your resource to help take your business to the next level. Also, stay tuned to learn how you can get your free Biz Easy business tool gift, but you have to listen to us for the next 24 minutes. My name is Steve, your host, as we all learn how to stay better focused on the things that make you great. Now, I'd like to introduce you to my partner and our resident guru of coaching, our lead business coach, Skip Williams.
Hey, Steve, always good to see you. How you doing?
I'm good. Have you done anything fun lately?
Well, I went motorcycling yesterday, but I had to come home early.
Why was that?
The bike was too tired, and we were both exhausted. But
Okay. Thank you for that. So tell me, Skip, what's up on today's podcast?
All right. Well, as a financial and business analyst, I'm often asked if it is possible with the right information to predict what will happen in any business. And the limitation of analysis is that there can always be a new factor or variable that you did not take into account or that had never happened before. COVID's a great example of that. I've also noticed that first attempts at analyzing anything are almost always wrong. This is usually because we fail to take in to account all the variables. We forgot a factor or two that drastically changes what the analysis is telling us. But good analysis, once you refine it, can predict the likelihood of any outcome and better prepare ourselves for those likely events. And this is why we always encourage using metrics and often say, if you treasure it, you should measure it.
How many times have we said that over the course of the last year?
I counted them up and I didn't have enough fingers and toes. These measurements are what allow you to analyze and predict the likelihood of both desired as well as undesired events. But analysis doesn't end with financials. Sometimes operational analysis can be just as effective, and it's usually more fun, frankly. Think of it in terms of measuring units or labor hours. Think about the power of how many units produced over how many labor hours measured daily, weekly, monthly. This would allow you to understand costs, set goals, know when something went wrong, and begin the journey to process improvements. We can analyze our operation to better find, manage, and ultimately eliminate constraints within the processes that we use and often find more efficient ways of doing things as well as eliminating waste. One of my favorite operational analyses is MTBF, or mean time between failures. Mean time between failures is a reliability metric that estimates the average time between two failures of a repairable system during normal operation. It's calculated by dividing the total time of the operation by the number of failures that occurred during that time. MTBF is used to assess the system's reliability and can be used to estimate the expected service life of a system or a component. MTBF is often used in failure analysis to identify the root causes of failures and improve system design and maintenance. And it can also be used to compare the reliability of different systems or components to identify areas for improvement.
You have just articulated a seemingly simple, yet to a listener, a complex formula. Can you break that down for us a little bit more specifically?
Make it a little simpler, I guess, and just exchange the word mean for average, right? Math guys tend to use the word mean instead of average, but it's the same exact thing. You'll also hear us sometimes say delta instead of the difference between, right? So, but mean time is just the average amount of time between breakdowns. That's it. And if we start logging our failures when systems or components fail, then we can start to get an average time between those failures and predict future failures. Wouldn't you like to know when your systems are about to break down so that you can prevent downtime and keep your operation moving. Now, downtime can be more expensive sometimes than we even think. So the cost of fixing pales in comparison to the cost of the idle labor or the lost sales. MTBF analysis based on your history of usage can tell us when a piece of equipment or particular component of that critical equipment is likely to fail, thereby allowing you to schedule replacement parts to arrive before the failure and schedule a convenient time to effect the repair.
Now, as you speak, I hearken back to the many times that I've been to logistics and trucking companies, and I ask them simple questions like, how do you track your repairs and maintenance on your vehicles? Now, I know most logistics companies know when they need to have new registration, when they're going to need new tires and that kind of thing. But your explanation here suggests that you can take this into many other aspects of not only logistics company, but obviously production companies. People have manufacturing equipment, even in some cases, shipping and receiving departments.
Oh, sure. All kinds of things. Transportation vehicles, manufacturing equipment, building maintenance systems. That's a good one. Computer and networking systems. Your business is likely out of business during the failure of something that can and will break down. Motors for manufacturing equipment is a really popular one, right? They have a lifetime. We just need to figure out what that lifetime is based on the usage that we ask from it. So what are the critical pieces of equipment that you use in delivering your goods and services to your customers? Whether you're measuring how often to replace the brakes on your delivery truck, or when the motor will need to be replaced or repaired on a critical piece of manufacturing equipment, knowing that time between failures could save you considerable time, cash, and sales, because as they say, time is money, especially in business.
Always in business.
On just a last note, sometimes you'll hear the word the term MTBF used incorrectly, or maybe you've heard the term MTTF. MTBF is not applicable for non-repairable systems. It's what you use for non-repairable systems is MTTF, mean time to failure. But that's the term we use instead. But mean time to failure is the expected time to failure of a non-repairable system. But it's the same calculation. It's the same principle. So you can use your MTBF calculations to create your MTTF calculations. So measure it exactly the same way. So as you can see from this MTBF example, your analysis doesn't always have to be about counting the beans or the money, does it? It can be about counting time or units or occupancy, frequency, sales, covers, restaurant covers, square footage, utilization, capacity, and much more. And when you divide one of these factors by the other related factor, it usually tells us something pretty important. And then if you add things like revenue or cost of goods or expenses or profit as additional factors, the value of that analysis goes up exponentially.
So, Skip, perhaps you can share an example of how this might be useful. That's just if our listeners haven't already thought that one through.
Okay, well, here's an example of hotels. In the past, they used to measure straight occupancy, determine what the percentage of rooms filled was, and just a simple occupancy calculation. But anyone can fill rooms if the price is right or price is low enough. So they started So then they realized they needed to go a step further, and they started measuring average room rate. But neither of those numbers told them if they were making money. So now many hotels now take the total number of their rooms available, and they divide that by how much revenue they made that day, and end up with one number. They call it RevPAR, which is revenue per available room. Simple yet effective tool for daily measurement of how well we're doing. So in conclusion, analysis can be fun when we create measurements that tell us critical things about our business, things that are important to know sooner rather than later, and when done properly can give us fairly reliable way of predicting the future. If you leave all the math stuff to the accountants, the only one that learns something valuable about your company is the IRS.
I love your reference to math stuff, as you are probably the most proficient math stuffer I've ever met. But I'm going to leave it up to the listeners, watchers, to email in, call, or shout out if you'd like to get greater clarification on this tool and its usefulness. And we happily avail ourselves or a staff member to walk you through it if you need a greater clarification.
Steve, I think you let the cat out of the bag. Actually, today's gift is going to be a tool to do mean time between failures. So we'll get to that. We'll get to that momentarily. So
that's what happens when I don't read ahead.
but to your point, you're absolutely right. If anybody has any problems, issues, need more clarification on any of the tools, whether they bought them from us or whether they take advantage of the free offers, we encourage them to reach out. My email is usually in each tool. You can just email me directly.
So you go to our website. It will be in the product section. Skip will tell you a little bit more about that in a little while. So for 2024, we've added a new addition to our podcast. It's story time. Now gather around, grab a blanket and an adult beverage, and listen to this. Keep in mind that the story I'm about to tell is a real company still in existence today, having started, like many of you, from humble beginnings. And thanks to our podcast, they simplified things for greater results.
Right, Steve.
Here we go. Tobias Lutke and Scott Lake were two friends who wanted to sell snowboards online. They had a passion for snowboarding and a vision for creating an online store that would cater to enthusiasts like them. They named their store Snow Devil, and they hoped to attract customers from all over the world. However, Toby and Scott faced many challenges and failures along the way. They had trouble finding a software platform that would suit their needs and preferences. They tried several existing e-commerce solutions, but they were either too expensive, too complicated, or too limited. They felt frustrated and hopeless and wondered if they had wasted their time and money. But Toby and Scott did not give up easily. They had a supportive team of mentors and team members who helped them solve their problem. They also had a lot of skills and knowledge in web development and design. Well, it turns out Toby, who was a self-taught programmer, decided to create his own e-commerce platform from scratch using a new programming language called Ruby on Rails. Never heard of it. He built a platform that was easy to use, customizable, and scalable. He also created a blog and a forum where he shared his story and his work with his online community. He received positive feedback and support from his audience, and he gained more followers and users. He also received requests and offers from other online merchants who wanted to use his platform and collaborate with him. Well, Toby and Scott were amazed by how far they had come, and they realized that their passion for e-commerce was stronger than ever. They decided to pivot their business, but this time they did it with a bigger vision. They wanted to make their e-commerce platform available to anyone who wanted to sell anything online. Gone were the days of only selling snowboards. They renamed their platform and they launched it in 2006. They invited their team, customers, and partners to join them for a special event where they announced their new mission and values and unveiled their new logo and slogan, which read, Shopify, make commerce better for everyone. They were proud of their business and their work, and they thanked everyone who helped them along the way. Shopify's story is an inspiring example of triumph over failure. You're going to hear me say that on probably every story I'm going to tell you. They overcame their challenges and obstacles, and they turned their passion into a successful business. They are now known as the Shopify Success, and they are happy and fulfilled with their life and career. Now, they hope to inspire others with their story and their work, and they believe that nothing is impossible with passion and perseverance.
And now you know the rest of the story.
Thank you, Paul Harvey. And we're dating ourselves with that, and only a handful of listeners will know what we're talking about. But nevertheless, it was a great addition.
I loved how they really pivoted. They were a snowboard enthusiasts, and all of a sudden they became a shopping basket enthusiasts. But they pivoted to what they knew and what their the needs that they could fill for their customers. That's great.
I'm shocked and also very interested how they took a very small market with snowboarders. Like I never would have been there because I'm a skier and I despise snowboarders and all like.
Careful.
but that being the case, then they all of a sudden opened it up to every product. I mean, they were not limited to that one vision, and they expanded it. What I find to be very interesting.
Right.
Well, let me turn the mic back over to you, Skip, who will now tell you about the free gift we're offering today for you having listened to us for these, 16 minutes anyway. Skip, what do you got?
Thanks, Steve. I'm so excited about this week's gift. It's a mean time between failure, and I just finished it. So this business tool will help you simplify the whole concept of mean time between failures. You've heard Steve and I talk about MTBF, and this tool will make the record keeping and the predicting and the predicting of failure biz easy. We call the tool Uptime. So let me show you around. First thing you want to know about any of our spreadsheets or any of our tools that we build is that you only put data in the white boxes. Anything shaded or colored is likely to be a formula, and you don't want to mess with it. But you can change anything in the white boxes. Okay. On the first tab here is where we set up our system. So you see here, I've already set up the truck number 3 front brakes. Didn't have a part number for it, so just made one up. We could have another one for truck number 4 rear brakes if we wanted to. And we could even give it a part number T4 R brakes. Something like that. Anyway, this is where you would set up all the assets that you have that you want to keep track of, the parts, the systems, the subsystems. All right. Then next, so once this is set up, you'll be mostly working here off the failure log. Every time you have a failure, you just pick the failure that you from the list. Let's say the rear brakes went out today, and we fixed them. Let's say a few days from now. So we were down 4 days. All right. So we start collecting this data. And then, so that's basically it. You put the system in from the pull down menu, and then you put the date of the date and time of the failure and the time that it came back online. From there, we go to the dashboard, and we can pick whichever system we want. So let's pick the truck 3 front brakes, and we can see that it's been up 99% of the time. Mean time between failure is 366 days. The next predicted failure is December 3rd on 2025. And so far we have 2 failures. So this gives us an indication of how much data there is, so we can put more, rely more or less on that data. And then it'll also show it graphically here as well. The other thing that you can look at, and none of these dates have expired yet here, and we only had the 1 failure on this one, so there's no data there, but is these lines will color code yellow, red, and black if they're near the failure zone. Just entering the failure zone, past the mean time to fail, and beyond predicted failure. So that's pretty much the Uptime business tool for you, making MTBF easy. And it also comes with a nice manual, a PDF manual to walk you through step by step. So it's fairly straightforward, pretty simple. It's an effective as any expensive MTBF software that you might buy. It's only limited to 100 systems and 500 failures. And as I said, it comes with the user's manual. We hope this business makes your this business tool makes your business life a little more predictable and profitable. And the way to get your copy of Uptime for free is to go to the resources and development products page. Go to resource and development, click on products, select Uptime, add it to cart, and then use the coupon code EasyMTBF, all one word, all caps, EasyMTBF, to get yours absolutely free. It's our gift to help you make your life a little bit easier. I hope you take advantage of the offer, and we will see you soon next week with a different offer. Thanks so much.
And as I want to reiterate that you have any issues with understanding how this works or how the inputs work, I know that Skip's brief tutorial kind of give you an overview, but don't hesitate. Are our phone numbers on the website, Skip? I don't think so.
I think one of ours is, and but both of our email addresses are there, and you can use the contact box.
Well, I know how I am when I'm on a website that is more difficult to navigate, can't come up with something. I want to give somebody a call. And I know that that's old school thinking. People like to do an email, and we do respond to our emails rather quickly. And I can argue that we do that inside of 24 hours. But anyway, it's a great tool, much like the many other tools. And did we explain how we got that free gift? That was in the video, yes?
Absolutely, yes.
Well, good. Great podcast. Appreciate your time, Skip. And to all those listening out there, appreciate it. Thank you. Subscribe, follow. We're anxious to take our listeners from 2 to 3 by the next podcast.
Thanks, everybody.
Anyway, okay, let's wrap it up.
That's a wrap.
Thanks for listening to today's Busy Z podcast. If you enjoyed our broadcast, we would kindly ask you to like, subscribe, and share with other entrepreneurs. See you next time on the Busy Z podcast, where business is simplified for greater results.